Welcome to Frequencies of Well-Being, the Philip Stein video podcast, a space for exploring ideas about natural frequency technology, mindfulness, and embracing your best self.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another podcast of Frequencies of Well-Being. In the last few podcasts, we were joined by different experts in sleep, experts in athleticism, sports, and also mental health with Dr. Jeff Kader. But we also want to reach out to our customers. And today, our first customer on the podcast is Chase Rosa. Chase is from New Hampshire, and he's a Philip Stein customer for 7 years. And we're going to hear his story, how he deals with well-being and what he does, and the experiences he had with Philip Stein. So welcome to the podcast, Chase. You're the first one of the customers now in our podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Will. I'm happy to be here.
That's great. So you're in New Hampshire, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And how is the situation over there? Is it increasing the coronavirus like we see in other places in the country?
Yeah, so it's been, luckily we haven't seen too many cases where I am in New Hampshire. I'm not in a very densely populated area. I'm running the seacoast, not in a big city. So luckily there haven't been too many cases and we haven't seen a spike, which has been great. So stores and restaurants have begun to open back up slowly and steadily, which has been good to kind of get a little bit of a sense of freedom and normalcy in our daily lives. So that's been great. So it hasn't been too severe of a situation. So grateful for that.
Great. So before we get into Philip Stein, Chase, tell us a little bit about you, what you're doing right now, what you have been doing.
Sure. So I'm 25 years old. Right now, I am a performance coach to founder CEOs, as well as the host of the Driving Force podcast. So on the coaching side, which I just got into last month, what that looks like is I work with founder CEOs to help them reconnect with their vision, help them get very clear on it, and then also work with them to kind of see what are the results that they want to achieve while working with me.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we'll create the strategies to help them achieve that vision. So I'll give you an example. So let's say a founder CEO says, as part of their vision, they want to work more on the high value strategic level projects instead of being kind of in the weeds and focusing on the low impact tasks of the company. So broadly speaking, a strategy that I might pose to that CEO is, hey, let's see if we can build an environment or a team that allows for those low impact tasks to be taken off of your plate, and then work with them to kind of create that environment or their team. And that's through one-on-one coaching over a specific amount of time. So that's what that looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, talking about focus and being focused on certain tasks, and especially the main task, which as a CEO is very important, that plays right into Philip Stein, because we just now got a study published in the journal called Brain and Behavior. And
oh, great.
That was a study which we did, excuse me, on our watches. And what we found is that when people were wearing the watches, they had more alertness, were more focused, but at the same time also they slept better at night, because when you're more coherent during the day, when you're more focused, when you're more in balance with everything, obviously you sleep better at night. But tell us a little bit how you got to know Philip Stein. How did you get into Philip Stein watches? When did you buy the first Philip Stein watch?
Yeah, so I actually got it. I came across Philip Stein when I graduated high school. I got a Philip Stein watch as a gift from my parents when I graduated. So that's very nice gift.
That's a very nice high school gift, huh?
It is very nice high school gift. Thank you. Yeah. And so I've been familiar with Philip Stein for quite a while.
And when you before you even got the watch, and then of course you read about it, and you, I guess, read about natural frequencies. Were you already someone who is into well-being, into health, or not?
So it's an interesting question considering the stage of my life where I was, just being a young graduate out of high school. During when you're that age, you're just trying to kind of figure out kind of everything about what you want to do and about yourself. Um, so that being said, I will say I was probably more into mindfulness and well-being than most of my peers.
Interesting.
I've been meditating for every day now for kind of since I was in high school, at least 10 minutes a day. And that stems from my dad and kind of my parents, who've been kind of instilled in me the idea of mindfulness from an early age.
Any special meditation?
Nothing special. I've toyed around with different types of meditation, but now it's just what I do now is I take 5 to 10 minutes every day and put some headphones on to kind of block out any external noise, and then just sit, do some deep breathing exercise, and just try to let go and clear the mind for 5 to 10 minutes. And that's been very, very helpful to kind of get me grounded throughout the rest of the day.
Well, that actually has to do with frequencies as well, because everything, our thoughts are frequencies, and our thoughts become things when we can manifest those thoughts, and that's actually frequencies. So you've been around, I mean, we've all been around frequencies since we were born, but you've been using your brain power to tap into certain frequencies, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the Philip Stein watch has helped you in this process, or what were your experience with Philip Stein? What is it that you felt when you put it on first and now, and
Yeah, so I think the biggest impact the watch has had for me and throughout my life so far was when I worked in private equity for a couple of years. It was the watch I wore to work every day during that time, kind of living that Wall Street lifestyle, working 80-hour weeks, sometimes 100-hour weeks. And when you're in that kind of high intensity, fast-paced environment, it was extremely helpful to kind of have this watch to kind of keep me grounded. I think that word is probably the best word. Had a very calming effect. I was alert when I needed to be alert in situations, but not too kind of revved up or too excited. And it's kind of keep me at that I guess peak state of mind and peak state of awareness to be able to excel in kind of whatever situation I found myself when I was working. And having that is, I found to be extremely important.
And at that time you wore the watch every day?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you also feel that the watch helped you then with sleep, or did you have a chance even to try our sleep bracelet?
So I haven't actually, and I haven't worn it while I was sleeping, but I think it definitely had an impact for sleep, because I'm sure if you're very stressed during the day and you don't really have any time to wind down, and then you try to go to sleep, usually what ends up happening is that although you might be really tired, you're just kind of laying there and you kind of have bouts of insomnia. So having this was very helpful in kind of getting me to sleep and I guess better.
And you mentioned now you're a podcaster and talking to startup CEOs and CEOs in general. What are their fears and concerns today, especially in this situation which we are in? And do you think that, for example, meditation would help them, or do you coach them also on that, or do you recommend it to them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the biggest thing and regardless of whether you're a CEO or not, is just kind of around uncertainty and what the world and will look like in the next 3 months. There's been so much change happening. So a lot of the founders and CEOs I've been talking to, they're struggling as to figuring out what's the next step for them in terms of kind of the progression of their business, because there's been so much change that it's hard for them to, a lot of them, to kind of see the right path forward. And so with that, I try to coach them to have them create some sort of sense of clarity, because there's a lot of that lacking in this period of uncertainty. So sometimes I won't strictly recommend that they meditate, but because it's ultimately up to them to decide what's right for them. I don't want to press anything onto them that they don't feel is right. So it's very, very dependent on the situation, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And how do you, in the situation that we're in right now, how do you stay focused and motivated? You mentioned, of course, the meditation. Hopefully you're still wearing the Philip Stein watch, which is, yes. There you go. Can you show me which one you have?
It's
the dual time zone, the signature.
Yeah.
Beautiful. With a stainless steel brand. Very nice.
Yes.
And what else do you do to stay calm and balanced, which is, of course, very important today? And when I speak to people, especially, I live here in California, and I'm so blessed to be here in California. I love it here. I'm right at the coast, next to Santa Monica. And even though we have the COVID-19 situation, but, like you mentioned also, you have the ocean breeze, I have the nature. But when people are in a big city like New York City or Chicago, I couldn't even imagine being in this situation right now. So what do you do in order to cope with the current situation?
Yeah, broadly speaking, I try to make sure that I'm optimizing both my body and my mind, and kind of looking at kind of my whole body as a system, because the human being we're all just kind of, I guess, living systems. And so making sure that each aspect is operating kind of just at the right state. So more specifically, what that looks like is trying to get meditation each day. For me, it's also getting at least 30 minutes of exercise each day, and making sure that's the right exercise that I enjoy doing.
Because what kind of exercise is that?
So for me, what that looks like is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been into that for quite a few years now.
But for that, you need a partner. Are you wearing masks when you do that? No.
No, they've been a little, at least in New Hampshire where I'm at, the restrictions are a little less. So they're having us partner up with people that we're very close to, like family members and close friends. Also running too has been very helpful. So exercise, eating right. If I want dessert, make sure it's in moderation, and so on. So there's definitely a lot of different things that I do to make sure that kind of my mental stability is right.
And I think that's very important, because the mental stability, in order also to have a physical stability and physical stamina and energy, you need to be mentally balanced. That's crucial, in my opinion. And you were talking about CEOs. Have they, for example, expressed any physical issues or mental issues that they've experienced now during this current situation, that they got more nervous, less sleep, etc., etc.? Is that something which you also noticed in your podcast now?
Not particularly. So with these founders and CEOs, they're, regardless of the situation, they're always busy. And interestingly, whether kind of that lack of sleep or stress, if it was a problem before the pandemic situation had hit, it's likely still a problem now. So it's kind of been interesting to see that kind of carry over still within the pandemic situation. So what I've actually found, and what's interesting about that, is this pandemic situation has allowed for, whether it's through the lack of having to commute to work or other things, time for people to take a step back and create the time to assess what are those problems, and that's been I guess really interesting to see, people taking advantage of this new time to do the inner work, if that makes sense.
So I think that's a positive takeaway from this whole pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in addition to that, I mean, when we read in the news and the media about the improvement of the environment, that's another positive aspect of this whole situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, less travel and less cars on the road. Yeah. The animals and and plants are happy.
Which is very important, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So with this, in this podcast, I also want to invite you, if you have any questions for me regarding our product, our company, our next steps, whatever it is, I'd like to invite you to ask me anything. Maybe I can answer that as well. So if you have anything on your mind.
Okay. I guess what is the next big project that you're working on, or kind of the next big product launch? What does that look like?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of our main or I call it the hero product, is really the Philips Stein bracelet, sleep bracelet. Okay, because sleep is such an integral part of our life, right? And it's a very important part of our overall health and well-being, because obviously when we don't sleep well, we're not going to perform well the next day. So it really doesn't matter where you live. I lived the last 10 years in Switzerland. And even in Switzerland, where everything is, beautiful and looks like a postcard and beautiful mountains and fresh air, but even there, people have problems sleeping because of inner stresses, etc. So sleep is really one of the most important parts for Philips Stein. And we've had great success with the sleep bracelet, but we're also working now on a project where we want to use the same technology, but in a different, I call it a carrier, okay? Because the watch is really a carrier. The sleep bracelet is a carrier of these frequencies to give you the benefit. So we want to create a different carrier, which is maybe also more affordable and easier to test out for people, because I believe once somebody has tested our sleep technology, our sleep bracelet, they will not go away from it anymore, because it's just, even people who have never had problems sleeping, when I speak to them, they say to me, it's a different kind of sleep. It's a better quality of sleep. So with that said, the sleep is something where we're going to continue and create our next big project. Of course, I mean, one of the things is, like, we're doing it right now. We cannot meet in person. It's very difficult to sell in person. So one of the things which we are also focusing, and I guess everybody, when you talk to your CEOs also, the online is here to stay forever, and people need to come up with new ideas and new creations. And I don't know if you've seen it on our website. We created the Philips Stein Club, which is it's a concept which we just launched now. It's basically a reward program, a loyalty and reward program, because what we've noticed at Philips Stein is that people, they talk about the benefits of the product when they wear the product, when they wear the sleep bracelet, they talk about the benefits. And because of the word of mouth, that's when people buy our products even more. So what we created is a program to reward those customers who talk about it and who talk to their friends about it, and we reward them financially. And so we created the Philip Stein Club just a month ago, and that's been going very well.
Great.
So if you ever have time, check it out. Maybe it's something
I will.
which is interesting, because also as a club member, right away you have immediately big incentives. So could be very interesting for anybody to check it out.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, Chase, it's been a really pleasure talking to you, and I'm very happy that you found the place that you wanted to be, because you mentioned you were in private equity for 2 years, which was like a really tough job with 80 to 100 hours a week, and now you found, I guess, your destiny with the podcast that you're doing, and you're doing
Yes.
a wonderful thing to help startup CEOs and CEOs in general to stay motivated, stay focused, stay on plan with what they are dreaming for and looking for, because only that way you can fulfill your dreams and build whatever you want to build as a company, right?
Absolutely. That's it.
And this is what you want to continue doing.
Yeah. So far, I mean, it's a very new venture for me, but so far I love it and I really enjoy it. So, and if that's the case, why do something else?
Absolutely.
If you love it. Yeah.
Absolutely. We always finish our podcasts with something which we call five vibes in 5 seconds. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you 5 words, one after the other, and you tell me what comes to your mind within 5 seconds. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Because we want to always end up on a positive note. This is the Frequencies of Well-Being podcast, so it's all about well-being and about wonderful feelings. So here is the first word: love.
Something that's always inside you and that you can share with others.
Beautiful. Passion.
Unwavering.
Mindfulness.
Essential.
Courage.
Embracing a challenge.
Very nice. And finally, happiness, which we all need.
Necessary.
And with that, thank you very much, Chase. I really enjoyed meeting you via Zoom. Hopefully we'll meet in person one day. And thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Will. This has been great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Take care.